So hello everyone, this is our Code Yourself Hangout in July 2020. My name is Areti Manataki. I am one of the course organizers for this free online course on Coursera, and I am very, very excited to be here with you today. We try to have these Hangout sessions every now and then, usually every couple of months, and it's great to hear from learners, people that are taking the course, and also I thought today we could do some live scratching. So I'm quite excited about that. Normally, Ben, the teaching assistant, tries to join these sessions. Today, unfortunately, it was not possible. So he's just so you know, he's saying hello. So the purpose of this session is to answer some of the questions that people have posted in the forums, to give you an update on how things are going with the course, and just to show you some cool things that we can do when programming in Scratch. So I'll start by discussing, by reminding everyone some key topics that we cover in the course. And then I'll talk a bit about statistics and what is going on with the course. So let me remind you what some key topics are. So by the way, this is more or less a self-paced course, so people can join anytime. So I am pretty sure that we have people joining this session that are now on week 1 of the course, others that are say on week 4, or others that might have already completed the course and just wanted to catch up and chat with the rest of their classmates. So no worries if you're at different levels, and if the scratching, the live Scratch programming that we do later on seems a little bit too advanced, it might just be because you're in one of the first few weeks of the course. So don't worry, you can revisit what we do in a few weeks' time. So what is this course about and what do we learn? So Code Yourself is meant to be a gentle introduction to programming using Scratch. Scratch is a programming language and a programming environment that was developed by MIT, and it's what we call block programming. So instead of typing your code using letters and symbols, there are blocks that you plug together, and you make characters do different things for you. You make them dance, you make them make music, you make them move. So you can use this functionality, these different options that you have in Scratch to build typically games and animations. And we'll talk about some of the games and animations that we've seen in the course and elsewhere. So what kind of topics do we cover? So in week 1, we learn what an algorithm is, and we learn about basics of computational thinking, like sequence, selection, and iteration. In week 2, we focus a little bit more on iteration, and we call that week Code Gone Loopy. And we learn about different kinds of loops, like count-controlled loops and decision-controlled loops. In week 3, we learn about remixing games, so how you can work with a game that someone else perhaps has developed, and how to tweak it a little bit and make it yours. And the writing that I'm going to be doing today is around that. On week 4, we learn how to reuse your code and how to make that work for you. So one of the main things that we learn on week 4 is about procedures. And every programmer will tell you that using and defining procedures is good practice. So you don't want to be doing the same thing again and again and wasting time writing the same code. If you can reuse it, and you can do that by defining a procedure, even better. Saves you time and effort. And finally, on week 5, we cover things like thinking like a software engineer. So we focus a little bit more on the software development process and what different approaches there might be. So the waterfall model, iterative and incremental software development and prototyping. And we look a little bit about at other programming languages. And this is one question that I've seen in the Hangout thread. So we'll discuss this a little bit more later on today. So I can see that there was already a question in the chat, and that's to do with Scratch 3 versus Scratch 2. So Arib is saying the course is related to Scratch 2, but there's a new Scratch version, which is Scratch 3. Can you update the course? We very much hope we will, and we hope we can do this in the next few months. So we're on it. Luckily, I can reassure you and I reassure everyone that you can still follow the course either by using Scratch 2, so downloading the Scratch 2 offline editor on your machine, or by using Scratch 3 and figuring out the mapping between the two versions. Glad to hear that you found the answer useful, Arib. So today, actually, when I do the live scratching, I'll use Scratch 3 just to show you that it's possible. So how is the course going? How many people have we got on the course? We are delighted to have over 138,000 people enrolled on the course. This is amazing. When we put this course together, all we were aiming for is to reach out to different people, different ages, different backgrounds, different countries, and this is something that we have achieved. So we're delighted about that. Over the past few months, and especially after the coronavirus pandemic emerged, I can see that there are more people joining the course, and this is actually what is going on not only with this course, but other free online courses. So this is great that people can put their time to good use and learn new things. And I can see that even more people are completing the course. So not only more people are starting the course, but more people are making progress and completing it. So that's really, really great to see. Where are our learners based? Which countries? More or less everywhere in the world, and this is really amazing. Our top countries in terms of numbers of learners that we have are the United States, India, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Egypt. But we have learners from all over the world, from Nigeria, from Australia, from Mexico, and other places. So we're delighted about that. One other point worth mentioning is that you can rate the course, and in the past few months we've been receiving more and more ratings, so this is amazing and thank you so much. We are very interested to hear what you think about the course, so you can do that by rating the course, and you can do it by sharing your story. So this is through the Coursera platform, and they call them learner stories or student stories. So over the weekend, I was going through some recent learner stories, and I read a story from Hui from Malaysia, from Soha from Pakistan, and Rita from Uganda. So just to say that we do care, and we are very interested in hearing your stories. So please let us know what you think of the course and how it's going. And another way that you can share feedback with us is through the course surveys. So typically, when you first join the course, you receive an email from us that says, there's a course entry survey, please fill it in. And we really, really hope that you will fill it in. This way you let us know about your background, and this way we can design Hangout sessions and design the course even better when we know what kind of learners we have in the course. And similarly, towards the end of the course, we have end of course feedback surveys. So there you can let us know, you can answer some questions and let us know what you thought about the course, what you found most useful, what you would change, what you would improve. So I can tell you that based on this feedback, over the past few years, we have actually improved things in the course. So it's very, very useful to us. Also, just to say that CodeYourself has a sibling, so a brother or sister course on Coursera called A Programar. So the same course was developed in Spanish. So both the University of Edinburgh and Orta Universidad Uruguay from Uruguay, we worked together a few years ago and put this course together. So we made it available in 2 languages. And by the way, if you work in a university in a country where the main language is different to Spanish or English and you're interested in translating the course, please let us know. We are very interested to make our materials available to learners that speak different languages. Okay, so I'll now move on to discussions in the forums, and I'll move on to some of the questions that people posted in the Hangout thread. So the question that was upvoted the most, and I would highly encourage you to upvote questions and answers in the forums, no matter whether they're Hangout related or not. So the one that was most upvoted was a question by Ugo Barberi Gnecco. And the question was, what is the next step? So after Scratch, what is the next language that I should learn? So the short answer to your question, Ugo, is Python. Python is a language that one would call professional language, as opposed to Scratch, which is a little bit more user-friendly and interactive. Python is a great language to learn. It is very, very popular, very widely used. It's very powerful. You can do lots of different things using Python. And in fact, it's not that difficult to learn. So as the first language to learn after Scratch, this is our top recommendation. So Ugo, if you check week 5, in week 5, we discussed this a little bit. We say, now you've done Scratch, maybe it's time to move on to a different language. And we recommend Python. And in fact, there's a video on week 5 where we show mappings between a program developed in Scratch and a program developed in Python. Now, how you might go about learning Python? There are lots of textbooks out there. There are lots of free online courses on Coursera and other online learning platforms. So I suppose the question is, how would you learn best? And which course would work best for you? I believe that Ben, the teaching assistant, has actually made some recommendations. So there's a post in the forums about tips and tricks around learning Python. So you might want to check that too. By the way, I think I'm going to stop sharing my slides because we don't need them anymore. Let me do that. Okay. So the next question that was also voted was a question from Jono. And Jono said, I have a degree in IT technology, but my jobs have been mostly managerial, and I have not programmed outside my years in college. So Jono is a bit rusty, and he wants to learn how he can ensure his CV, his resume, looks promising for future opportunities, and what kind of language or technologies would be a better option to focus on. And I think my answer again is Python. It's one of the most popular languages. So, by the way, when thinking about what kind of answer to give to this question, I did a very quick web search and searched for popular languages in 2019 or 2020, popular programming languages. And the ones that seem to be the most popular are Python, Java, JavaScript, C#, C or C++, and others like PHP, R, Swift, and so forth. So really, any of these top languages that you use is a good idea. Perhaps a way to think about it is what is most popular or needed in your sector. So for example, people working in healthcare and people that are interested in data science find Python and R useful. So if it's about working with data, then I would recommend these two languages. Let's see what other questions we have in the Hangout thread. So Abdullah Ahadi is asking a very, very important question, actually. And the question is, how can we apply the coding concepts that we learn in the course as theory into real projects that we're working on? And Abdullah is saying, most of the time I understand many concepts, but I don't know how to use them. So this is an excellent question, and this is something that I've seen that that learners sometimes find difficulty in. So it's great that you're raising this, Abdullah. So my answer to this is, first of all, try to go through any practical exercises that we have in this course. So don't just watch the videos and think about what we do, but try to replicate them. Try to have a go at the quizzes and the programming assignments. And also try to go beyond what we learn in this course. So for example, say we have the for example, there's a project that we discuss about drawing squares or a staircase. I think it's both, actually. So you might want to think, okay, I've learned how to draw a square, but how about drawing a triangle, or how about drawing a hexagon? So try to build on what we've learned to go beyond it, and write your idea down, what it is that you want to achieve, and then try to think, what are the things that we've learned in the course would I need to apply here? And try it out. If you get stuck, feel free to post your question in the forum, and I'm sure your classmates will be delighted to chip in and help you figure it out. I think these are my top tips in terms of Abdullah's question, but if any of our learners in the course have more tips for Abdullah, that would be really great. So please feel free to share them in the chat, in the session. Feel free to post your answers and your suggestions in the course forums, or in our so if you're watching this video on YouTube, you will see that there's the option to add comments. So feel free to add comments there too. And I can see that people are discussing in the chat just now about different programming languages. So Asgant is saying about Python. People are asking about the difference between MATLAB and Python, and Arib is saying MATLAB is for calculations mostly. Python is good for making games. So I can say that Python is indeed very good for making games, but you can also use it for calculations or for working with data. So there are packages that you can use that help you do calculations too. So it's very versatile, very powerful as a language. A question that came up in the Hangout threads, which is a bit specific perhaps, but I thought it would be worth answering live, is about certificates. So Amr is asking, how can I get University of Edinburgh send my certificate to the universities that I'm applying for? Because these universities do not accept certificates from students, but directly from institutions, from universities. So I'm afraid the answer to this question is that we cannot do that. So the University of Edinburgh cannot really send your Coursera certificate elsewhere. So if they do not accept your certificate as part of the documentation that you provide, I'm afraid this is not possible. Nevertheless, I would recommend that you mention course on TV. Now, going beyond questions in the Hangout thread, I have to say that our discussion forums in the last few months have been particularly busy and lively, and we're really enjoying this, Ben and I. So every now and then, Ben and I meet up and chat about our favorite posts. And my favorite post that I thought I would share with the rest of the class here is not really just one post, but a discussion. So what I enjoy the most is when there's a question posted and then when people answer these questions. So when learners are helpful, when you help each other. So a few days ago, Sandra posted a question, and the subject of that thread is, "There's no play note in my Scratch app." Thank you, Sandra. That's a very good point. In fact, I don't think this is something that we discuss in the course. So this reminds us that we should explain how to work around this in Scratch 3. So let me go back to that post and tell you what the discussion there has been. Yes, so Sandra posted this question, and Neeraj replied saying you can get the note block by clicking on the plus with a blue background on the left side of the screen. So if you check your Scratch interface, whether you're using the online or offline version, on the bottom left corner of your screen, there's a blue bit where there's a plus sign. So if you click on that, there are all the different extensions that you can use. And Neeraj says if you go there, you'll be able to find the music extension. And then you can use the note block. So thank you, Neeraj. And as you can see, so Neeraj's answer has been upvoted 10 times. So people have found it very useful. And many people have gone back to Neeraj, they've replied there and said, thank you, this is most helpful. And someone came in and said, well, if you're struggling to find that plus icon, this is where to find it. So excellent. This is very good community learning. Thank you all. Good. What I'll do now, I think I'll stop talking about discussions in the forums and your questions in the Hangout thread, and I'll just check if there's anything else that came up in the chat here. So Galib is saying, I believe that programming in general should be a skill that everyone needs to know. So I agree with you, Galib, and that's why we put this course together. By the way, if you're learning to program and you're enjoying it, you might as well invite a friend or a family member to learn with you. So one of the best ways to learn is learn with friends and other people. And this way you help each other and you keep, you help each other also stay motivated, which is also important. Very good. So I think what I'll do next is go ahead and do some live programming in Scratch. So to do that, first I'm going to share a link in the chat. So here's a link. And if you click on that link, you'll get to see a program in Scratch that was put together not by myself, but by one of the Scratch programmers. So what I'll do is now share my screen and I'll do some live scratching. Let's see how this goes. Good. So you should now be able to see my screen. If you click on the icon, on the link in the chat, you'll be able to find this backward basketball project, which is really cool. So just to let you know how I came across this project, I just went to the ideas page of the Scratch website and I scrolled down, and this here caught my attention. It's called Scratch Design Studio Imaginary Sports. I love imaginary sports. So I thought I'd try a little bit of backward basketball. So let's do that. I'll click on it. And here we go. So this is a project put together by Marvel50. And if you click on the green flag, you'll be able to play the game. So first of all, let's try playing the game. So what you're meant to do is move the basket to catch the balls. Ooh. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's difficult. Oh, missed that one. Very good. So if you're watching from home, feel free to have a play. Okay, I'll stop now. So see here, we're on this project page. If you see here on the top right, there's the See Inside icon button. So if you click on that, and that's something I highly recommend for any project that you find on the Scratch website. So click on the See Inside button, and this way you'll be able to see the code. So let's see. What I'm going to do next, before I change anything in Marvel 50's project, is basically have a look at the code and see if we understand it. So first of all, how many sprites do we have? 2. We have a basketball and a basket. Now these are named differently. So these are named apple and ball. So I suspect that Marvel 50, when he put this project together, he first had a bowl and an apple, but that's fine. So let's check the code for the ball. So if you click on the ball, this is everything we have. Sorry, the code for the basket, I meant. So if you click on the basket icon here, this is the code that you get. So what this tells us basically is that when we hit the green flag, the basket goes to a particular place in your screen at the bottom, and then it will keep moving to the right if you press the right key arrow, or moving to the left if the left arrow key is pressed. And it's always pointing to the right. Good. So you can control the basket by using the left and right arrows. Now let's check the code for the ball or the apple. So here there's a little bit more code. Let's see what happens here. So let's see what happens when the green flag is clicked. So first of all, we have a score and we have a number of lives. So at the beginning, our score is 0 and our number of lives is 10. Good. And then, I see, then what we do is set the size to 50% and we hide it. Very good. And then what this part here tells us is that every second, there's a clone of the ball being created. So by the way, if you are not familiar with clones in Scratch, I believe we discussed this in week 3 or 4, is it? I think it's week 4. In there, yes, it is. It's week 4. Very good. So if you haven't seen clones before, let me explain in a couple sentences what they are. So a clone basically is a different version of the same character, the same sprite. So you can get many balls to appear by having just a single sprite, a single ball sprite, and telling it to clone itself. And you can tell the clones what to do when they are created and how to get rid of the clones, how to delete them. So here we've seen how to create a clone. And now let's see what a clone of the ball does when it's created. So when I start as a clone, it goes to a random place up here. You can see it. And then there's a repeat loop. So the y is changed by -10. This means it's going downwards. So it's dropping towards the floor, let's say. And then it keeps checking if it is touching the ball or if it's touching the basket. And as soon as it is, we increase the score by 1. And then we get rid of that clone. Good. And then there's another condition here that is checked. And this is in the case where when we haven't managed to catch the ball, basically. So if the number of lives is larger than 0, then we change it, we reduce it by 1, and then we delete this clone. So this is in the case where it touches the edge, basically, but not the basket. Now, if the number of lives equals 0, we stop everything, and this is the end of the game, okay? So I'm going to play the game once again, and I'd like you to have a think about what is going on in terms of the code while I'm playing the game. And you can do the same. You can play the game yourselves too. So see, I'm moving my right and left arrow keys, and this way I am controlling the basket. Ooh, that's quick. It's actually quite hard. Very good. See, now my number of lives is 0. So the code says if it reaches 0, or if it touches the edge and it's not larger than 0, so basically if it reaches 0, then stop. So game over. Very good. Now we've got a sense of how the code works. What we can do next is tweak it. So change it a little bit. So the first thing I think I would like to do is, well, instead of having an apple or a ball, we could change it to different sprites. So this is just changing the visuals rather than the functionality of the game. So let's see, I'm going to click on my sprite here, the apple sprite. I'm going to go to costumes. And if I click on this icon here, I can choose a different costume. I already decided what costume I'm going to be using. I want, instead of a ball, I want a muffin. So if you type here muffin, I'm going to click this one. And there we go. Ooh, it's quite big. So let's see. Let's see how big my ball was. Okay, I'm going to make it smaller. So the way to make it smaller is I'm going to select everything like this and make it a little bit smaller. And see this cross here? I'm going to bring it so it's right in the middle. Let's see. I wanted to have a similar size to the basket. So I think I'm going to make it slightly smaller. Okay, there we go. I think I'm happy now. Yes, perfect. I can see that there's quite a bit, I can hear that there's quite a bit of activity in the chat. So I'll go and check if everyone's okay. I can see that people are playing the game. Very good. Excellent. I hope you'll get to tweak the game with me too. Okay, let's go back to tweaking the game. Good. So we've got a muffin instead of a basket, or sorry, a muffin instead of a bowl. And instead of the basket, I'm going to go to costumes again. And I'm going to choose, let's see, I'll go to the costume library. I'm going to choose a truck. I don't remember if Scratch calls it truck. So I'll just, let's see. I think I'm going to go for this one, but you can choose any sprite you like, really. Very good. So I'm going to make it a little smaller again. So I'm going to select everything, make it smaller. Whoops. Make it smaller, smaller, smaller. There we go. I'm going to bring it close to the center here, to the cross. Oh, it's considerably bigger. So I think what I'm going to do is even smaller. And you can check on your screen what it looks like. Yeah, perhaps a bit smaller. If it's too big, it's too easy a game to play. And we don't want it to be too easy. Yeah, that's about right. Great. So all we've done so far is change the costumes of the sprites, so change the looks of the game. So let's have a play and see if it works with muffins and trucks. Yes. Yes, it's working. Ooh, it is actually quite fast. So I think this idea I have for tweaking the game is to make it a bit easier. Okay, maybe when someone is a little bit more experienced, we can make it make it a bit harder. Okay, so let's see how we can make it easier. What can we tweak? So really, this is about the muffins dropping. So it's about how quickly they drop, perhaps. So let's see. I think we can change this through this block here. See here, the block really that tells a muffin to drop is this change by. So if we want to make it smaller, instead of -10, we could make it -5. Now, I don't know if -5 is too slow, so we'll have to try it and see what we think, okay? So I'm going to hit the green flag again, and I'm going to play the game. Ooh, that's interesting. So my muffins are indeed dropping more slowly, but now I have more muffins on the screen. Now, let's think why this might be the case. I'm checking the code of the muffin. So this tells me what happens when it starts as a clone. Okay, I see now. So see this part of the code in the forever block. This is where the clone is created, right? And when is it created? Every 1 second. So you wait for 1 second. So if you wanted to make muffins appear not as often, you would need to say, wait for 2 seconds or 3 seconds. I think personally, I quite like it the way it is. So I'm going to leave it as it is. I quite like being able to see where to go next. But you can tweak the number of seconds to wait. More ideas for tweaking this game? One idea would be to, oh, I know. So at the end of the game, see here when we have stop all. Well, if you're new to the game, suddenly it stops and you might not realize why. So it's good practice to have a game over picture. So that's something that you could include in the code here. So that's something for everyone watching now at home and who wants to have a play with programming in Scratch. Another idea would be to distinguish between different levels in the game. So we've seen the level that Marvel 50 went for, which is brilliant. And I decided to tweak it a little bit and make the muffins drop more slowly. So this is definitely easier. So one could have 2 different levels. So program both versions of the game, and perhaps at the first, say during the first 20 seconds, have the easy version. So you can use a timer for that. And then after 20 seconds, go for the more challenging version. Or you could ask the user at the beginning to say what version of the game they would like, easy or hard. And then based on the answer that they type, you get them to start on that version of the game. How to do that? In sensing, there's a block called ask and wait. So you can use that block to ask the user and then get their answer. See here, this is the block for the answer. So you can use that. You would need quite a few selections, so if this, then that. But I think this is a very good way to practice with your programming in Scratch. And going back to the question I discussed, the question from the Hangout thread, if you want to practice with some of the concepts that you've learned but don't know where to use them, this is a very good opportunity to do that. So have a think about what kind of version of the game you would like, and then go through the different concepts that we've learned in the course and see what would work for the functionality that you want, if that makes sense. Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen now. Okay, and we're back to our usual interface here on Collaborate. Thanks for everyone that has been helping each other in the chat about how to change sprites, for example. I hope you've enjoyed the live scratching. This is just a simple idea of how to approach your learning. So you can go to the Scratch website, pick a game or an animation that you like, try to understand it. Now, I have to say there are beginners projects and advanced projects. So if it looks like there's too much going on there, no worries. Try a different project. So pick a project that you like, try to understand the code, and if you think it's at the right level for you, try and tweak it a little bit and try to build on it to make it your own. And you're most welcome to share your projects on the Scratch website, and you're most welcome to share your projects in the discussion forums and let everyone know about what you've done, how you did it and why, and also invite them to build on the project that you've made. So very good. I can see that people are already sharing their projects in the chat. Amazing, Arib. That's great to see. So I think this concludes our live session for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. Anything else that you would like to talk about, let us know by posting your questions and your comments in the chat. Please rate us and share your stories with us through the Coursera platform. And please remember to complete the entry survey and end of course survey. We would really, really appreciate it. So thanks for participating. Hope you enjoy the rest of the course and see you in the discussion forums. Goodbye.